My name is Jean McLean, and I'm here today because I have an art show at Queen City Framing and Art Supplies, and this is the first Friday event, which is an opportunity for me as an artist to have a reception for 2 hours from 5 to 7. So that's why I'm here today, to meet people that might want to come and see my art and to share a little bit about what I do and how I do it and all that. And I really like to meet the people that come. Well, I primarily paint in a realistic style, not photorealism, but a realistic style. So you look, for instance, at a bear and you can see a bear. But when I do the painting, what fascinates me most is the fact that in order to get this three-dimensional subject in a two-dimensional place so that it kind of appears three-dimensional, you don't think about the bear. Instead, you think about the colors, the shapes, the shadows, and the lights. And so, even though I paint realistic subjects, the process is very abstract to me because it comes down to light and shadow, shapes, lines, and that sort of thing. So that's what I've done here. And in a lot of cases, I put the paint down and then take some off. Put it down and take some off. This particular piece is on plastic. It's on a product called UPO, which is polypropylene, and it's not actually paper. And so it's watercolor, gouache, and acrylic on here. And then what you're able to do is put the color down and take color off. Put the color down and take color off. And when you take the color off, you expose layers underneath, that sort of thing. And that's how I get this. You don't start off knowing that. You start off thinking, okay, I'm going to paint a bear. And usually the results are pretty disappointing. But when you can get beyond, I'm going to paint a bear, and you just start painting the shapes and the shadows and the lights and the colors, the values, the lightness and the darkness. And then you step away or maybe come back the next day. I heard someone say once, when you come back the next day, it seems like the painting fairies have been there. And all of a sudden everything just looks wonderful. Because you leave it and you think, oh, this is a disaster. For instance, when I was painting this, I can tell you just a little bit of a story about this particular piece. I started off with this, and something was wrong with this cub. And it was basically, I was to the point where I had this. This was all pretty much the way I wanted it, but this cub wasn't right. And so I had to decide, well, am I going to take all of this off and start over again? And so that's what I did, except I turned it upside down. I had a reference that I used. I turned it upside down, and just when I turned it upside down, suddenly it became very easy to see where my mistake was. I think art is one of the key things that makes us humans. It's not just the fact that we have opposable thumbs, but what we choose to do with them. And if you look at the old cave paintings and things like that, you know, art has always been something that people have wanted to do. Not everyone, certainly, but some people have always had a need to do it. And I think that's what it is. It makes us human. It helps us to see things differently. When I look at or think about a potential subject, I start seeing that subject differently. For instance, when I do a painting like these animals that I have here, I always try to think of them as thinking creatures that I share the planet with. And I would like to be able to show that intelligence, that there is something in there, that they're not just a cardboard cutout or a two-dimensional piece on the wall, that there is life there, and there is, you know, I mean, the expression I tried to put on that mother bear's face, anyone who has ever raised a teenager knows what she's thinking about here when, and how she's feeling, and how she'd just really like to lie down again, probably. But don't touch my baby. Don't touch my baby. So that's, when I was growing up, we didn't have many pets because my father was in the military. So we did a lot of traveling. And my mother didn't like pets very much. And one of the things that she told me when I was a little girl was that animals couldn't think. And I knew from the time I was really small that she was wrong about that. And so that's one reason I think that I'm fascinated by animals, because I like to show that they can think. We did have, when I was little, 5 years old in Japan, we did get a pet, and it was a bird in a cage, a canary. And so that was my first pet. And I think that helped to foster for me a lifelong interest in birds, and hence other creatures from that, but birds especially, I love. Yeah. They're so strong, they're so powerful. It's amazing what they can accomplish with those hollow bones, and they're gone. You know, they look so delicate and dainty and whatever, and they fly for miles and miles and miles. One of the things that I'm interested in is history and life, and I think about the role that women played in the West, and still do. And one of the signs to me that a woman was there are the roses, the flowers, and sometimes curtains and things like that. And I like to capture those things because I want people to know that someone did live there, and it was probably a pretty rough life, but you know, it was probably a pretty beautiful life too. And the flowers show me that. So that's why usually you'll see flowers or something similar to show that there was, I like to show that there was a woman there. It's something that is inside you, like a fire in your belly or something, I guess is a way of describing it. It's there, and if I'm not painting, I'm actually thinking about painting. Some way, shape, or form. I can talk to someone about a completely different subject, but it's always there, and when that conversation is over, I'm right back to what am I going to do next. And usually I have about 4 or 5 paintings going at once in different stages. So.